Hello, everybody. How are you doing today? I hope things are going well with you. The title of the lesson today is Why is there so much suffering? Well, we look around us and see suffering all around the world. And there's wars and conflicts going on with innocents in the middle. And there's famine and hunger in most of the world. And there are billions who struggle each day just to survive. And our heart aches when we see pictures on the TV of hungry and dying children. And how can this be if God is in control? You know, some people might ask that. How can this be if God is in control? And this is a question many ask. It is also a reason many offer as a response to not serve God. But anyway, that's just a cop-out if you ask me. See, to be blunt, the suffering in this world is because of sin. Not just the sin of Adam, which brought pain and death into the world, but the continued sins of practically everybody. I mean, let's face it, when only one person was able to live without sin, that being Jesus, of course, that means all have sinned and fall short of his glory, Romans 3:23. So, there's many cultures in which God is not a part of the everyday life of the people. And many of the foreign cultures despise the very concept of a divine being. And so following the divine precepts is not happening there. And some cultures practice a religion but do not serve the God of the Bible, and as a result, there's a lot of suffering taking place. And we know there is one God, and he is supposed to be served by all. See, when Jesus told us in Matthew 7:13-14 that only a few would be saved, he was not wrong. See, we accept by faith that the Bible is correct in all its teachings. And we believe that good things happen to those who love the Lord, Romans 8:28. We also believe that only those who believe and obey the Lord's commands will be saved. We can put in Matthew 7:21, John 3:16, and John 3:36. If you're not familiar with that, go look it up. I think everybody knows John 3:16, but read verse 36 and see what that says. And of course, in Hebrews 5, verse 9, Jesus is the author of eternal salvation to all those who obey him. And so we can certainly have scripture to back this up. But still, we must ponder why innocents need to suffer for the sins of the people. And perhaps that question needs to burn inside all of us so that we can learn the effects of sin upon all humanity. You know, we could, watching those commercials on TV and our hearts being touched, we could send the 50 cents per day to help these children, and you probably realize there's probably millions of people doing that anyway. And what has changed? What has changed in this world? I mean, they've been doing this for years, and the pictures never change. The stories never change. And the truth is that throwing money at a problem does not fix the problem. In fact, money usually enhances and corrupts the officials who are supposed to distribute the funds. We've seen this happen time and time again. And some people in some charity, the chairman of the board makes millions of dollars off of these donations, and just a fraction of money donated actually gets to where it's supposed to go. So yes, whenever you have money, you have people trying to get their hands on the money, and they find ways to do that. See, we've all seen what happens when people void of God get their hands on money that is supposed to go towards others. You know, greed is a major sin in the world today. And many decry capitalism as being evil because a few people actually abuse the privilege of making money off the backs of others. And so, but we can say this, if God was being served and people were following godly principles, everyone would benefit. And so that's why capitalism has worked for this country, because many people are God-fearing people. And even though they don't behave it most of the time, they still claim a faith in God. See, even communistic societies which promote equality among all people end up deciding that some are more equal than others. Yeah, you remember the novel Animal Farm by George Orwell. I mean, yeah. See, dictators and other world leaders do not care about the people, but only themselves and maybe a small inner circle which are privileged. Other than that, people are suffering and dying. And so the people suffer under any system that is not God-focused. And so that is why America prospered for many years. The founding fathers actually followed godly principles and how people were to treat others. And this was a great system and still is, even though sadly half the people in this country want to get rid of this system. They want to go into a socialist type system, which takes us into communism. And we see what happens there. And so they're still trying to destroy it. See, ungodly people ridicule the concept of being kind to your neighbor and looking out for their neighbor's interest, all the while making pretense to be champions of rights. They slowly remove such rights from others. And as we said, many suffer as a result of continued sins. You know, abortions take millions of lives every year. And of course, we know dictators and other world leaders remove any and all opposition as a result, millions lose their lives. When various nations turned into socialism, then communism, there were people that wanted to keep their rights. Guess what? They were put in camps, they were euthanized, they were put to death, and as a result, many people suffer hunger and poverty. I mean, Venezuela just 40 years ago was one of the nation's richest countries. Then they got a hold of socialism. And now, other than the ruling leadership, it is basically one of the poorest nations on earth. And the people are suffering. And so if man would follow God's laws, all men would benefit. We know that. As we look at the great judgment scene in Matthew 25, we see that people are judged by how they treat their fellow men. Yeah, and so, yeah, not all our judgment will be based on that, but a good majority of it is. And really, how you treat others is how God is going to look at us. You know, when Jesus said the greatest commandment was love God, and the second greatest commandment, love your fellow man, I mean, he wasn't kidding. He was telling the truth. And he says the whole law is based on how we treat others. So, suffering happens, and until people turn to God, it's going to continue. I mean, that's just a fact. And, yeah, we have to deal with that. I mean, but we all need to look around and relieve any suffering that possibly we might come across on a daily basis. So think about these things, and that's our lesson for today. If you have any comments to make, go right ahead. And if you have any requests, ask me. Any questions, let me know where you're listening and watching from. And, of course, Lord willing, we'll be back again tomorrow with another lesson. Y'all have a good and blessed day now. Bye-bye.